They had been taking people from other worlds for thousands of years. They were tall beings with skin and large black eyes. They could read minds. No other species in the galaxy had this gift. It made them powerful. It made them feared. Every secret, every lie, every hidden thought, they could pull it out like pulling a fish from water. Their ship moved silently through the darkness of space. It was searching for something. Captain stood at the center of the bridge, his long fingers pressed together. He was old, even by standards. He had read the minds of warriors, kings, and criminals. Nothing surprised him anymore. "Captain," said one of his crew, "we found something." On the screen, a small escape pod floated alone in the empty black. It was damaged. Burn marks covered its surface. The symbols on its side were strange, letters from a language they did not know. "Where did it come from?" asked. "We traced its path. It came from a cargo ship. The ship was destroyed 3 days ago. Pirates, most likely." Leaned forward. "Is there life inside?" "Yes, one being, female, young. She is unconscious but alive." "Bring her aboard." The escape pod was pulled into the ship. When the doors opened and his guards looked inside, the creature was small compared to them. She had black hair and tanned skin. Her clothes were torn and dirty. There was dried blood on her forehead. "What species is this?" asked. His science officer checked his device. "Human, from the planet called Earth." Had heard of Earth. It was a new world to the galactic community. Humans had only recently learned to travel between stars. They were considered primitive, weak, unimportant. But the collective wanted to know more about them, and now, by luck, they had one. "Take her to the holding cell," ordered. "When she wakes, we will read her." The human was carried away. Her name was, she was 19 years old. 3 days ago, she had been working on a cargo ship called the Star. It was not a fancy ship. It carried food and medicine to small colonies on the edge of known space. The pay was low but did not mind. She liked her job. She liked fixing things with her hands. Most of all, she liked her crew. There was who always made jokes even when things were hard. He shared his food with everyone and never complained. There was who sang old songs while he worked. His voice was terrible, but it always made smile. And there was the youngest of them. He was afraid of space, afraid of the dark, afraid of almost everything. But he came anyway because his family needed money. They were not just, they were her family. Then the pirates came. Remembered the sound of the alarm. She remembered running through the halls. She remembered the fire, so much fire. She remembered pushing her into the escape pod. She remembered his face through the small window as the pod launched. She remembered the explosion. She remembered everything. When woke up, she was in a white room. The walls were smooth. There was no door that she could see. She sat up slowly. Her body hurt. Her head hurt more. Where was she? The wall in front of her suddenly became transparent, like glass. On the other side stood 3 tall beings. They looked at her the way a person might look at an insect. One of them stepped forward. He was taller than the others. His voice was calm and cold. "You are awake, good." Did not answer, she just stared. "I am captain of this vessel. You are aboard a ship of the collective. Do you understand?" Understood. She had heard stories about everyone had. They could read minds. They worked for the highest bidder. Governments hired them to find traitors. Criminals feared them. No one could hide anything from them. "What do you want?" asked. Her voice was rough. "Information," said simply. "Your species is new. We wish to learn about you. Your thoughts, your memories, your feelings, we will take them all." Felt something cold move through her chest. Not fear, something else, something harder. "You're going to read my mind." "Yes." "And if I refuse?" Made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You cannot refuse. Your mind is not a locked door, human. It is an open field. We will walk through it and take what we want." Looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked down at her hands. They were dirty. There was still blood under her fingernails. Blood, maybe, or her own, she did not know. 3 days ago, she had watched her friends die. She had floated alone in the cold dark, waiting for death. She had screamed until her throat was raw. She had cried until there were no more tears. But now, sitting in this white cell, surrounded by aliens who thought she was weak, felt nothing. The tears were gone. The screaming was done. There was only silence inside her, a deep, heavy silence. "Fine," she said quietly, "read me." Tilted his head, he had expected fear. He had expected begging. This human showed neither. "You do not resist." "Would it matter if I did?" "No." "Then why waste the energy?" Studied her for a moment. There was something strange about this creature, something in her eyes that he did not understand, but he pushed the feeling away. She was just a human, a primitive being from a primitive world. Whatever was in her mind, his readers would pull it out easily. "Prepare the ceremony chamber," he told his guards. "We will read her tonight." The guards took from her cell. As she walked through the halls of the alien ship, she did not look around. She did not try to run. She just walked, one step after another, her face empty. But deep inside her, in a place that no one could see, something was waiting. Did not know what it was. She only knew that it had been there since the fire, since she watched his face disappear in the flames, since she heard his last song, since stopped answering her calls on the radio. It was not anger. It was not sadness. It was something older, something that had grown in the dark while she floated alone in space. They wanted to read her mind. They had no idea what they were about to find. The ceremony chamber was a large round room in the center of the ship. The walls were dark. The floor was cold metal. In the middle of the room was a raised platform with restraints made of light. 12 stood in a circle around the platform. They were the readers, the most skilled telepaths on the ship. Each one had spent centuries learning to enter other minds. They had broken soldiers, spies, and kings. They had pulled secrets from beings who would rather die than talk. Tonight, they would read one small human girl. Was brought into the chamber by 2 guards. They placed her on the platform and activated the light restraints. Glowing bands wrapped around her wrists and ankles, holding her in place. She did not fight. She did not speak. She just lay there, looking up at the dark ceiling. Watched from the edge of the room. He was curious about this human. Most beings cried or begged when they were brought to the chamber. Some tried to fight. Some tried to bargain. This one did nothing. "She is ready," one of the guards said. Nodded, "Begin." The 12 readers closed their eyes. They began to hum, a low, deep sound that filled the room. This was how they connected their minds. When they worked together, their power increased tenfold. But tonight, only one of them would enter the human's mind first. His name was Fen, and he was the youngest reader on the ship. He was talented and proud. He had been chosen for this task as an honor. Fen stepped forward and placed his 3-fingered hand on his temple. Her skin was warm. Her heartbeat was slow and steady. She did not flinch at his touch. "I will be gentle," Fen said, almost kindly. "Do not resist, and this will be over quickly." Turned her head slightly to look at him. Her eyes were dark and calm. "Do what you want," she said. Fen smiled. Then he pushed his mind into hers. At first, everything was quiet. Fen found himself standing in a wide green field. Mountains rose in the distance. The sky was blue and clear. A soft wind blew through the grass. This was a memory, a childhood memory, Fen realized. The human had grown up in a place like this. It was peaceful, beautiful even. Fen walked forward, moving deeper into the memory. He could see a small house in the distance. A woman stood outside, hanging clothes to dry. A child ran through the grass, laughing. This was too easy. The human's mind was completely open. No walls, no defenses. Fen almost felt disappointed. He reached for the memory, ready to take it. Then the sky turned red. Fen stopped. The wind died. The grass turned brown and began to rot. The mountains in the distance cracked and crumbled. The woman by the house looked up and her face was burned, melted, wrong. The child was still running, but now it was running toward Fenn, and it was screaming. Fenn tried to pull back. He tried to leave the memory, but something grabbed him. He looked down and saw hands, dozens of hands, reaching up from the ground. They wrapped around his legs, his arms, his throat. And then the noise came. It was not a single sound. It was 1,000 sounds at once, screaming, crying, fire crackling, metal breaking, people calling names that Fenn did not know. The names repeated over and over, mixing with the screams. Fenn tried to scream himself, but he had no voice. The hands pulled him down into the earth. The red sky pressed down on him. The noise grew louder and louder until it was inside his head, inside his thoughts, inside everything. In the physical world, Fenn's body went rigid. His eyes rolled back until only white showed. Then he began to scream. The other readers broke their connection immediately. 2 of them rushed forward and pulled Fenn's hand away from the human's head. His body fell to the floor. He was still screaming, but the sound was broken now. Weak. "What happened?" demanded, rushing forward. "What did she do?" The senior reader, a female named, checked Fenn's condition. Her face went pale, or paler than usual. "His mind," she whispered. "It is empty, there is nothing left." "What do you mean, empty?" "I mean he is gone. Whatever was inside him, his thoughts, his memories, his self, it has been erased. He is alive, but he is no longer Fenn." Looked at the human on the platform, was breathing hard. Sweat covered her face, but she was awake, she was aware. "What did you do to him?" demanded. Turned her head to look at Fenn's twitching body on the floor. For a moment, something like sadness crossed her face. Then it was gone. "I didn't do anything," she said. "He walked into my house. I didn't invite him. I didn't attack him. He just walked in." "That is impossible. No mind can destroy a reader. No primitive species has that power." Laughed. It was a small, tired sound. "Power? You think this is power?" She shook her head. "I don't have any power, I just have memories. I have a mother who died slowly while I held her hand. I have a fire that killed everyone I loved. I have 3 days of floating in the dark, alone, waiting to die." She looked directly at, her eyes were not angry, they were not afraid, they were just tired, so deeply tired. "Your reader didn't find a fortress in my head. He found a graveyard, and graves don't let go of what they hold." Stared at her. For the first time in centuries, he did not know what to say. Approached him quietly. "Captain, we should stop. This creature is dangerous. We should release her and leave this sector." "No," his voice was firm. "One reader failed because he was young and careless. We will try again with experienced readers, 3 of them working together." "Captain, this is not a request. The collective wants information about humans. We will get that information." Wanted to argue, but she knew it was pointless. Was old, but he was also proud. He would not admit defeat to a primitive creature. The guards took back to her cell. As she was led away, she passed the platform where Fenn's body still lay. He had stopped screaming. Now he just stared at the ceiling with empty eyes, breathing slowly, seeing nothing. Looked at him for a long moment, then she looked away. She had not meant to hurt him, she had not done anything on purpose, but when he entered her mind he found what was there. The fire, the screaming, the faces of the dead. And the dead did not like visitors. In her cell, sat in the corner and pulled her knees to her chest. She thought about Smile. She thought about terrible singing. She thought about fear. She missed them so much it hurt. Somewhere behind her eyes the graveyard waited. The next morning 3 senior readers stood outside cell. They were the best on the ship. Each of them had lived for over 400 years. They had read the minds of war criminals, mad kings, and monsters. They had never failed. Their names were Veen, Cora, and they did not look afraid, but there was something careful in their movements. News of what happened to Fenn had spread through the ship. Everyone was talking about the human who had destroyed a reader's mind without even trying. Stood beside them. "You will work together," he said. "Enter her mind at the same time. If one of you sees danger, pull out immediately. Do not take risks." Veen nodded. "We understand, Captain, but with respect, I do not think this will be difficult. Fenn was young. He was alone. He made mistakes. We will not." "Good, then begin." The cell wall became transparent. Sat in the corner just as she had the night before. She looked up at the four watching her. "More readers?" she asked quietly. "Yes," said, "and this time they will not fail." Looked at the three readers. They were older than Fenn. Their eyes were harder, but she saw something else behind that hardness, a small seed of doubt. "You saw what happened to the young one," she said. "It was not a question." Veen stepped forward. "What happened to Fenn was unfortunate, but he was inexperienced. We are not." "Maybe," stood up slowly, "but I didn't do anything to him. I just sat there. He came into my head and found what was waiting." "We are prepared for whatever is in your mind, human." Looked at him for a long moment, then she shrugged. "Okay." The guards brought her to the ceremony chamber again. The light restraints held her to the platform. The three senior readers stood around her in a triangle formation. They placed their hands on her head, one on each temple, one on her forehead. Then they closed their eyes and pushed. At first they saw what Fenn had seen, the green field, the mountains, the peaceful memory of childhood, but they were careful. They did not move forward carelessly. They examined everything, looking for traps. "It seems normal," Cora said through their mental link. "Too normal," replied, "keep watching." They moved deeper into the memory. The house appeared, the woman hanging clothes, the child running through the grass. Then Veen noticed something. The shadows were wrong. They were moving but not with the wind. They were reaching, stretching, growing. "Pull back," Veen ordered. "Something is." The sky turned black. Not red like Fenn had seen. Black, complete darkness. The field, the mountains, the house, everything disappeared. The three readers found themselves standing in nothing, just empty black space. And then the voices came. They were soft at first, whispers, names spoken in a language they did not understand. "Mother," the names repeated, overlapping, growing louder. Then the memories came. Not one memory, hundreds, thousands. They crashed into the readers like waves against rocks. A childhood bedroom filling with smoke, a mother's face thin and pale on a hospital bed, schoolmates laughing, pointing, calling cruel names, a broken heart, a hungry stomach, cold nights with no heat, years of struggle, pain, loneliness. And then the fire, the terrible fire on the star. The readers saw it all. They felt it all. The heat, the fear, the helplessness. They heard the screams of the crew. They saw's face through the escape pod window. They felt's throat tear as she screamed his name. They experienced 3 days of floating in the void, the darkness, the cold, the silence, the certainty of death. And underneath it all, they felt something else, something that held all these memories together. It was not sadness. It was not anger. It was survival. The human mind had taken all this pain and wrapped it together into something hard, something that could not be broken because it was already broken, something that kept moving forward because stopping was not an option. The three readers tried to pull back, but the memories held them. They were drowning in a lifetime of pain that should have killed any normal being. 11 seconds after they entered mind, all three readers collapsed. Cora was dead before she hit the floor. Her heart had stopped, was alive but screaming, tearing at his own eyes with his fingers. Veen simply fell and did not move again. Watched in horror. In less than a minute, 3 of his best readers had been destroyed, and the human had not lifted a finger. The guards pulled the readers away. Medical officers rushed in. But for Cora it was too late, was restrained before he could hurt himself more. Veen, like Fenn, stared at nothing with empty eyes. walked to the platform where lay. She was breathing hard, tears ran down her face, but she was awake, she was still there. "What are you?" whispered. Opened her eyes, they were red from crying. "I'm human," she said, "just human. No creature should have a mind like yours. It is not possible." Laughed weakly. "You don't know where I come from, you don't know what Earth is like. Earth is a primitive world, weak, insignificant. Earth is a..." Sat up slowly. The light restraints flickered and died, the reader's collapse had broken the power flow. Gravity that crushes, weather that kills, animals that hunt, diseases that never stop changing. We die all the time, we lose people all the time, and we keep going. She looked at with eyes that were tired beyond her years. "You think pain breaks beings. Maybe it breaks your kind. But humans, pain is just part of life. We carry it with us. We live with it, we use it." She touched her chest over her heart. "You wanted to read my mind. My mind is a battlefield. It's full of dead friends and dead dreams and old scars that never healed. Your readers walked in there expecting to find a simple creature. They found a graveyard built on top of a war zone, built on top of 20 years of just surviving." Backed away from her. For the first time in centuries, he felt fear. "You are a monster," he said. Shook her head slowly. "No, I'm just someone who didn't quit. On Earth, that's not special. That's normal." She stood up from the platform. The guards raised their weapons but waved them back. "Take her to her cell," he said quietly. "Do not touch her, do not speak to her, do not look into her eyes." As was led away, she passed the bodies of the readers she had destroyed. She had not meant to hurt them. She had not done anything. They had simply found what was inside her. And what was inside her was everything she had survived. Behind her stood alone in the ceremony chamber. He looked at his hands. They were shaking. What had they brought onto his ship? Fear spread through the ship like a disease. By the end of the first day, everyone knew what had happened in the ceremony chamber. 2 readers dead, 2 more empty, their minds gone forever. The human had done this without moving, without fighting. She had simply let them into her head. Crew members whispered in the halls. They looked at each other with worried eyes. Many of them were telepaths, even if they were not trained readers. Among them, almost everyone could sense minds. It was part of who they were. And now, some of them could sense the human. She was just 1 level below the main deck, locked in a simple cell. But her presence leaked through the walls like heat from a fire. It was not a strong feeling, just a faint pressure, a distant echo of something vast and dark. Some crew members asked to be moved to the other side of the ship. Others stopped sleeping. One young telepath had walked too close to cell and collapsed with a nosebleed. She recovered, but she could not stop crying for hours. Called a meeting of his senior officers. "We need to kill the human," said his second in command. "She is too dangerous. Every hour she stays on this ship, she puts us at risk." "If we kill her, we learn nothing," replied. "The collective wants information about humans. That is our mission. The mission does not matter if we are all dead or mindless. Captain, please, this creature is not natural." Was quiet for a moment. He had led this ship for 200 years. He had faced enemies, storms, and wars. But this was different. This was something he did not understand. "Bring me Mora," he said finally. Mora was the oldest on the ship. She had lived for 900 years. Her skin was almost white and her eyes were clouded with age. She could barely walk, but her mind was still sharp. She had forgotten more about telepathy than most ever learned. They brought her to quarters in a floating chair. She looked tired but curious. "You want me to read the human," she said. It was not a question. "No," shook his head. "I want you to observe her from a distance. Tell me what you see. Tell me what we are dealing with." Mora considered this. "You have lost 4 readers to this creature, 2 dead, 2 broken, and you think I should go near her. You are the best of us, Mora. If anyone can understand this human, it is you." Flattery, Mora's thin lips curved into a small smile. but also true. Very well, take me to her. They brought Mora to the observation room next to Cell. A thick wall separated them. The wall could become transparent, but Mora kept it dark. She did not want to see the human. She only wanted to sense her. Mora closed her clouded eyes. She reached out with her mind, not toward but around her. She touched the edges, the echoes, the residue that the human mind left behind. For a long time she was silent. Then she began to shake. The guards rushed forward, but Mora raised her hand to stop them. "I am fine," she whispered. "I am fine, I understand now." Leaned forward. "What did you see?" Mora opened her eyes. For the first time in centuries, there were tears on her ancient face. "Her mind is not shielded," she said slowly. "She has no walls, no defenses, nothing that should stop a reader." "Then why do our readers fail?" "Because she is flooded." Mora's voice trembled. "Imagine a room that you want to enter. Most minds are rooms with doors. Some have locks, some have guards, but this human, her room has no door because there is no room. There is only water, water all the way to the ceiling. If you try to enter, you drown." Did not understand. Water. Memories, emotions, pain, joy, love, loss. Every moment of her life is there all at once, pressing against the walls of her mind. She does not hide her feelings. She does not lock away her trauma. She carries it all, always, every second of every day. Mara wiped her tears with a shaking hand. Our readers entered her mind expecting to walk through a garden. Instead, they stepped into an ocean. They drowned in her pain. They were crushed by the weight of her life. Spoke up. "That is impossible. No being could function like that. The weight would destroy them." "It would destroy us," Mora agreed. "But humans are not like us. They come from a world of death. They are born into struggle. They lose loved ones before they can walk. They experience more pain in 20 years than most feel in 1,000. She looked toward the wall that separated them from. "They do not function despite the damage. They function because of it. The pain makes them stronger. The loss teaches them to keep moving. This girl has survived things that would break any, and she carries all of it inside her, not as a burden but as fuel." Was quiet for a long moment. Can she control this? Is she attacking our readers on purpose? No, she has no idea what she is doing. She simply exists. But existence for a human is a kind of violence. Their lives are so intense, so full of feeling, that simply sharing their mind is dangerous. "Then what do we do?" Mora shook her head slowly. "You do not do anything. You cannot read her. You cannot break her. You can only make her angry. She has no weapons. She is one small female. She does not need weapons." Mora looked at with her clouded eyes. "You have seen what happens when our readers enter her mind. Imagine what happens if she learns to push back. Imagine if she sends those memories outward instead of waiting for us to come to her." In her cell sat alone. She was thinking about home, about the small house in the mountains where she grew up, about her mother's voice singing old songs, about the smell of rain on warm earth. She was thinking about the star, about teaching her to play cards during long shifts, about cooking in the tiny kitchen, about asking her if the stars ever scared her. She missed them so much. Outside her cell, a young guard walked past. He was not a trained reader. He had only a little telepathic ability. But as he passed the door, he caught the edge of her thoughts, just a fragment, a memory of fire, a face melting in the heat. The guard fell to his knees and vomited. Heard him through the wall. She pressed her hands against her face. She was not trying to hurt anyone. She was just remembering. But her memories were weapons now, and she was only beginning to understand what that meant. By the third day, had lost a quarter of his telepathic crew. Some of them had died. Their hearts simply stopped when they brushed against psychic presence. Others had gone mad, screaming about fire and faces and names they did not know. A few were catatonic, staring at nothing, alive but empty. And the human had not done anything. She had not attacked. She had not escaped. She had simply existed in her cell, remembering her dead friends and her lost home. That was enough. The remaining crew refused to go near her section of the ship, had to use drones to deliver her food and water. The guards watched her through cameras, never in person. Even the cameras felt dangerous somehow. When crew members looked at her face on the screen, they felt a pressure behind their eyes, a whisper at the edge of their thoughts. Mara came to on the third morning. "You must let her go," she said simply. Sat in his quarters, looking older than he had a week ago. "If I let her go, I return to the collective with nothing. They will remove me from command. If you keep her here, you will have no crew left to command. She is not trying to harm us, Captain, but her mind is a wound that never closes. The longer she stays, the more it bleeds. She is just one human. She is and we now know what that means." Mora placed her thin hand on his arm. "The collective wanted information about humans. You have it now. Tell them the truth. Humanity cannot be read. Their minds are too full, too heavy, too alive." Was silent for a long time, then he stood up. "Prepare my personal shuttle. I will speak to the human myself." Mara looked worried. "Captain, that is dangerous if you get too close." "I will not read her. I will not touch her. I will simply talk." He straightened his uniform. "She is a prisoner on my ship. She deserves to hear the terms from me." Walked alone to cell. He did not bring guards. He did not bring weapons. He just walked, his footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. Most of the crew had abandoned this section. It felt like a ghost ship. When he reached her cell, he made the wall transparent. Sat in the corner as she always did. She looked up at him. Her eyes were calm, tired, old in a way that did not match her young face. "Captain," she said, "come to try again." "No," kept his voice steady. "I came to talk." "Talk?" Raised an eyebrow. "Your people don't seem like the talking type." "We are not. We read, we take, we do not ask." Paused. "But you have shown us that some minds cannot be taken. Yours is one of them." Nodded slowly. "I figured that out when your readers kept screaming. I want to make a deal with you." Stood up and walked to the transparent wall. She was shorter than smaller, weaker in every physical way, but as she looked at him, felt the weight of her mind pressing against his thoughts. She was not trying to hurt him. It was just what she was. "What kind of deal?" she asked. "I will give you a ship, a small one but fast. I will give you coordinates to the nearest human station. I will give you fuel and supplies for the journey." Took a breath. "In return, you leave peacefully, and you do not tell your people what happened here." Laughed. It was a bitter sound. "You want me to keep this secret, after what you did to me, after you tried to rip my mind apart?" "I am asking, not demanding." "Why, what are you afraid of?" Met her eyes. For a moment, he did not see a primitive creature. He saw something vast and ancient, something that had survived more than he could imagine. "I am afraid of what your species will do if they learn about this," he admitted. "You are new to the galaxy. Most civilizations think you are weak, unimportant, but I have seen the truth. Your minds are weapons, and you do not even know it." Was quiet for a long moment, then she shook her head. "I'll take your ship, I'll take your coordinates, but I won't keep silent." She stepped closer to the wall. "You took me from my escape pod, you held me prisoner. You sent your readers into my head without permission. People died because of your arrogance." Nodded. "I know. So here are my terms." His voice was calm but hard. "You will send a message to your collective. You will tell them that Earth is off limits. Any who takes a human, any human, anywhere will answer to us. And next time we won't just sit there waiting. We will push back." She tapped her temple. "You've seen what's in here. This is me just remembering. Imagine what happens when I'm angry. Imagine what happens when I aim." Believed her. He did not know if she could actually use her mind as a weapon, but he had seen enough. He had lost enough. "I will send your message," he said. Nodded, then she turned away. "How long until we reach the coordinates?" 6 hours. "Good, I'd like to be alone until then." Made the walls solid again. He stood there for a moment looking at the blank surface. Then he walked away. 6 hours later, a small shuttle launched from the ship. Inside sat at the controls. She was alone, she was free. As the shuttle jumped to faster-than-light travel, she finally let herself cry. She cried for who had pushed her into the escape pod. She cried for whose songs she would never hear again. She cried for who had been so afraid but came anyway. She cried for her mother, who had died holding her hand. She cried for the girl she used to be, before the fire, before the loss, before the darkness. But even as she cried, she kept flying, forward, always forward. That was what humans did. They carried their pain and kept moving. They buried their dead and got back to work. They broke and healed and broke again. And somehow they survived. 3 months later, a message arrived at the Galactic Council. It was from the Collective, one of the most powerful civilizations in known space. The message was only one sentence. Class 12 Earth is to remain untouched. Their minds are not for reading. When the council asked for explanation, the ambassador, an ancient female named Mora, gave a simple answer. "We looked into the void looked back, and it remembered everyone it had ever lost." Somewhere on a mining colony near the outer rim, a young woman named started her new job as a chief maintenance engineer. Her thought she was quiet, serious, good at her work. They had no idea what lived behind her eyes. And across the galaxy the message spread, "Leave the humans alone. They do not know what they carry inside them." But we do.